Why the fuck would you move back like that? Yeah, sick. Oh my god.
I actually just got outplayed.
Hey guys, this is Gangplank main, and I'm a high elo Gangplank one trick from NA. I've ended 566 LP on Season 9, and here's my in-depth guide to improve on our favorite part. Okay, so I know I'm late making this video, but better late than never. But with the release of Season 10, I bet some of you guys are wondering what's meta for Gangplank, what runes you should run, and how to properly build them. Some of you might feel it, but Gangplank currently feels a bit awful. With the rise of ranged top laners such as Lucian and Kalista, it's becoming difficult. Even though Gangplank has a decent chance of beating Lucian, Lucian still counters Gangplank all stages of the game, when played correctly. But what really hurt Gangplank is Blade of the Ruined King. With the recent buff in patch 10.5, we have seen a rise of Bork Rush top laners. Top laners' build paths are now revolving around this insanely strong item. Examples will be like Aurelia, who used to go Triforce Gage, and other essential items. Now she rushes Bork into Black Cleaver to instantly shred you down. Another insane example will be Set. Rushing Bork when on release would rush Triforce. This item is simply too strong and meta breaking. Gangplank just gets the short end of the stick. Gangplank at the moment has 3 runes, but one of them is only for super niche situations, so I won't go into detail about it. But before we dive deep into runes, let's discuss something we should all know on what to take for Gangplank, and that is summoner spells. For top lane, it's a must to run Flash Teleport, since top lane is such a long lane and it's easy to be punched for poor wave manipulation in some way. It's highly recommended to run Teleport. As for mid lane, it's a bit different, since the lane is short, you're able to run Flash Ignite into matchups you can have high kill pressure early. Champions like Zed, Katarina, or Kiana would be good examples, since those champions don't do much until level 6, but if you were to go against a control mage, then replace Ignite with Teleport. Alright, so let's talk about the most dominant rune for Gangplank, Grasp. Why should you run Grasp? What makes it so great? Well, the reason is only for the laning phase. Gangplank's weakest point is in the early game, and into some champions you're forced to take Grasp. So it's detrimental that every rune you take helps strengthen your early game, since the rune is completely useless mid to late game. The runes you will take are Grasp, Demolish, Second Wind, or Bone Plating. Second Wind into damage over time champions like Teemo, Cassiopeia, and Singed, and Bone Plating into anything else basically. And lastly, Revitalize. Many people would argue to go Overgrowth to help scale Grasp, but since Grasp is useless mid to late game, it doesn't offer much, and with the healing that Revitalize offers, especially in the early game, is pretty nice. Then secondary, I would go Biscuits and Time Protonic to ramp up your early game and help with mana sustain. This is what you run into almost every matchup. Only difference is changing armor and magic resist, and sometimes going double armor into ranged matchups such as Lucian, Quinn, and Jace. You would generally run Grass into matchups you can hard poke and compete for lane control. Good examples will be champions like Kled, Jax, Set, Renekton, or Camille. And starting item wise, you will always go Corrupting Potion to increase your pressure. Alright, so on to the next rune, Conqueror. For runes, take Conqueror, Triumph, Bloodline, or Tenacity against heavy CC, Coup de Grace, or Cut Down. And then secondary, go Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter. Ultimate Hunter is basically new bait and doesn't give as much value as Hunter. Ravenous Hunter increases your sustain with barrels at all stages of the game, and empowers your death stance sustain, whereas Ultimate Hunter can only be used every few minutes. And for starter items, you always go Refillable Potion and Mana Crystal. To know why Gangplank runs Conqueror, we need to know why it suddenly became popular. Ever since the removal of Klepto, Gangplank has lost something that could help him hyperscale into matchups that he can just easily abuse. Conqueror became that replacement. Unlike Grass, this rune isn't meant to help Gangplank through the laning phase, but to help him hyperscale. So when would you run Conqueror? You would only run Conqueror into tank matchups, but if you were to struggle using Conqueror against tanks, then it's fine to resort to Grass. The rune takes practice to effectively use. Your goal with Conq is to sit back, farm, and be able to take long trades instead of short. And lastly, fleet footwork. This rune hasn't been as popular as it once were in Season 9. It pretty much fell off and it's only good into matchups like Rumble and maybe Uzir. But for runes, you run Fleet, Triumph, Bloodline, Coup de Grace. Just like Conq, you change in between Tenacity and Last Stand depending on enemy team comps. And for secondary runes, you can run Resolve, Second, or Inspiration Second. Different variations of runes can be showed on the screen. And for starting items, you will go Mana Crystal and Refillable Potion. The playstyle of this build is like Conq, but to the extreme. You do not want to interact with your lane, you just want to survive and scale as much as you can. With this rune, you would go crit. Bruiser doesn't fit the playstyle that well since all you're doing during laning phase is sitting back and farm. Before we go into builds, I just want to remind you that fleet footwork isn't as popular as it used to be, and it's not a necessity to run. I just want to mention it since it still can be played, but basically got replaced with Conq. Since we've gone over the runes, let's now discuss the many items Gangplank can use. A lot of questions you guys might ask is what items should I go when going full crit or bruiser. So let's start with everyone's favorite build, crit. Why should you go crit chance? Why is it good? And what's the playstyle? So the reason you would go crit is when you have an enormous lead and you're able to close the game, or when going against a squishy comp. For example, if we're going against a squishy comp, we'll be going against Teemo, Sivir, Zara, Syndra, and Graves. Bad example will be Talon, Kha'Zix, Camille, Kai'Sa, and Leona. But why is crit good? Well, Gangplank can AoE crit and basically kill the enemies before they kill him. But be warned, since this build is glass cannon, your positioning and movement needs to be on point. This has little room for mistakes, and being out of position for even 1 second can be detrimental in a team fight. You have to treat yourself as an AD caster with this build. You're basically an ADC, but that can hit multiple targets, and his kit is on cooldown most of the time. But don't let this discourage you from utilizing your passive. Common mistake I noticed from observing low elo Gangplank players is they will cast their barrels and run away. Now don't get me wrong, that is good to reposition yourself, but remember, in some situations it is the correct play to follow up with your barrels to sneak in and auto. But be aware of your surroundings when doing so, because again, you're vulnerable to many things. The crit build will be Triforce, Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer. Then you could either go another Infinity Edge for 100% crit, or go Lord Dominus Regards if the enemy has a lot of armor, or Mortal Reminder if they have a lot of healing, or you could go Guardian Angel last item. The last item is always optional. So, when should you go Bruiser? Why should you go it? And what makes it better than crit, and how do you play it? You should go Bruiser if you're going against team comps that have heavy burst, or strong front line, or split pushers. If you were to go crit against split pushers, they'll just outscale you in the split and just basically one-shot you because you're so squishy. And you cannot just ignore them, they'll demolish your base. Bruiser will be the most suited since you'll be able to sustain fight them and tolerate their madness. So when building Bruiser, the ideal build would be Triforce, Sterix Gage, Death Stance, Spirit Visage, Lord of Diamonds Regards, or Mortal Reminder, and last item can be a Guardian Angel. Let's also explain the small things about building for Gangplank and optimization. What boots should you go? Well, there's only 2 options, Ninja Tabbies or Merc Treads. Basically, 95% of my games I would go Ninja Tabbies because of how broken they are. If the opposing team comp has 3 AP, but your laner is something like Aurelia or Lucian, Tabbies is a must. You have to keep in mind you'll be forced to match them at all stages of the game. For Mercs, I would literally only go this item if I'm going against 5 AP, and I would never go Lucidity boots. I bet some of you guys have questions when would you go Maw of Malmortius, and to be honest, this item is so horrible for Gangplank. Even if the enemy mid laner and jungler are fed AP carries, the stats that it provides are very lackluster. It gives 50 magic resist and attack damage, with a terrible shield that can only proc against magic damage, unlike Sterix Gage or Phantom Dancer, which can be procced with any type of damage, leaving you vulnerable to physical damage. Keep in mind, Phantom Dancer is more effective than Maw and Gage post level 15, by giving you the biggest shield out of all the 3 Lifeline unique items. Some people would like to discuss when to go Executioners. This item is ideally needed after Triforce when going against a heavy sustained champion. Sure, it delays your 50% crit, which is a huge price spike for Gangplank, but it is also a must against champions like Aatrox or Fiora. But let's create a scenario where early game ended sooner than usual and everyone is starting to creep up. If you are going against sustained champions, it is critical to have, but never build it before finishing Trinity Force. That item is a must rush on Gangplank. Hey, thanks for watching my guide in Gangplank. Hope it was very informative. I would like to shout out a few friends of mine for helping create this video. Dino for making the Gangplank doodles, Turtles for the montage that you saw at the start of the video, and Corsair Damian for making the thumbnail. Links of their Twitters will be shown in the description. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Twitch. I don't stream that often, but if you want notifications when I do, make sure to hit a follow. Thanks again to everyone who helped create this video, and thanks for watching. Take care, and peace.